By blocking movement, Iran, of course, in this sense showed its strength. And now discussions are going on around this, and agreements are being reached on how this strait will function further. I think that Iran has in reserve not only this nuclear weapon, but also thermonuclear weapon, and that is the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which can be used in the event of military conflicts, creating a situation in which all oil shipments and other transportation will be locked. Negotiations are always better than their absence. We understand this, but they must end in something. At the present moment, negotiations between the United States and Iran ended with the signing of a memorandum of understanding. Its value is clear.
Does Iran hold a thermonuclear weapon capable of bringing America and Israel to their knees without firing a nuclear missile? Has Dmitry Medvedev's stark warning raised new questions about Iran's next strategic move against its adversaries? From the Strait of Hormuz to Bab el-Mandeb, what does Moscow know that has the world on edge? Why is Russia suddenly describing Iran's strategic leverage as a thermonuclear weapon in the region? After reports of hundreds of Russian missiles reaching Iran, does Moscow already know Tehran's next master plan? Is Russia quietly helping Iran build the leverage needed to bring America and Israel under unprecedented pressure? A chilling statement from one of Russia's most influential security figures has sparked fresh questions over Iran's next strategic move. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev made the explosive remarks while attending ceremonies following Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's funeral. According to Medvedev, Iran possesses a thermonuclear weapon in the form of strategic leverage capable of disrupting global maritime trade. Medvedev also argued that the prospects of a final nuclear agreement between Washington and Tehran remain increasingly remote. Russia's state-run TASS reported that Putin's close ally held talks with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on the unfolding regional crisis. Moscow said it had proposed peaceful alternatives for addressing concerns surrounding Iran's nuclear materials and program. Medvedev described the Strait of Hormuz as one of Iran's most powerful strategic instruments against its adversaries. He further warned that the Bab el-Mandeb Strait could also become a pressure point if regional tensions spiral further. Russia called for diplomacy to prevail, but cautioned against any additional military escalation across the Middle East. Medvedev warned that any disruption to these critical maritime chokepoints could unleash severe consequences for the global economy.
The visit of our Russian delegation to Tehran, on the direct instructions of the head of state, was devoted to paying respects to the supreme leader of Iran, Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, who was martyred as a result of American attacks. But naturally, within the framework of such a visit, the current state of affairs was also discussed. I had a conversation with President Pezeshkian, and I also conveyed to him words of condolence from the President of the Russian Federation. At the present moment, Iran and we are bound by a special treaty, a treaty on strategic partnership, and within the framework of these agreements our relations are developing. Overall, the general situation in Tehran made on me an absolutely favorable impression. The capital lives and develops, even despite the fact that on the territory of Tehran there appeared entire neighborhoods that were destroyed as a result of the bombings carried out by the United States. There was no serious reason for the American attack. In other words, this kind of aggressive action by the United States of America was absolutely unprovoked. Iran did not threaten the United States of America in any way. Moreover, it was in a state of negotiations with the American delegation and moving toward certain agreements. And it was at this moment that the order was given to strike Iran. This is a regrettable fact which, in essence, speaks of the destruction of the system of international law, as a result of which, the entire leadership of Iran was killed, including the supreme leader. A large number of civilians and schoolchildren were killed. And all this, of course, does not do credit to those who made such decisions. The pretext was some kind of Iranian nuclear program, around which discussions have long been conducted. But frankly speaking, no one ever presented anything to anyone. All of this is limited to some general reasoning about how to deal with Iranian nuclear materials, although the Russian Federation also had proposals on this matter. In essence, they were proposed by the head of our state, and they would have made it possible to solve this task differently, by peaceful means. Iran honorably overcame this most difficult trial, and not long ago I said that, instead of real nuclear weapons, Iran discovered that it had another weapon no weaker than nuclear weapons. namely the Strait of Hormuz. By blocking movement, Iran, of course, in this sense showed its strength. And now discussions are going on around this, and agreements are being reached on how this strait will function further. I think that Iran has in reserve not only this nuclear weapon, but also thermonuclear weapon, and that is the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which can be used in the event of military conflicts, creating a situation in which all oil shipments and other transportation will be locked. Negotiations are always better than their absence. We understand this, but they must end in something. At the present moment, negotiations between the United States and Iran ended with the signing of a memorandum of understanding. Its value is clear. This very document creates no legal obligations, but it creates one thing. It creates a basis for further negotiations. Now there are documents, and the period has begun for reaching certain final agreements. Frankly speaking, I think this process will be extremely difficult. Reaching agreement on a number of positions, including, for example, allocating money for the reconstruction of Iran, will be extraordinarily difficult. And lifting sanctions on Iran, as I understand it, is something far from everyone in the United States is eager to do or to decide on. I can only wish such negotiation success, but it is quite likely that these negotiations may also have a different development. We can discuss the idea of creating some kind of treaty, or at least some kind of platform on which states subjected to sanctions could work out positions on how to counter them, and perhaps even introduce counter-sanctions. This concerns also Russia, Iran, China have been subjected to sanctions. There are other countries against which the United States and the European Union have imposed sanctions. But once again I emphasize, this is quite an obvious matter. Restrictions of this kind are illegal. Therefore, they must be resisted.
Medvedev's backing of Iran comes amid reports claiming Russia has supplied more than 300 missiles to Tehran, raising new questions over the depth of their military partnership. Russia has reportedly sold at least 327 air-to-air and air-to-ground missiles to Iran. The missiles are likely intended to arm Iran's future fleet of Russian Su-35 fighter jets. United 24 reported the development, citing documents received by its editorial office. The reported contracts for Russian aviation munitions date back to 2023 onward. These aviation munitions are reportedly intended to help counter American and Israeli attacks. Kh-38 is an air-to-surface guided missile with a reported range of up to 40 kilometers. The K-73, also known as the R-73, is a short-range air-to-air missile. The K-77, or R-77, is a medium-range air-to-air missile. The Kh-31 is an air-to-surface missile used in anti-radar and anti-ship roles. Earlier in 2023, Iran's permanent mission to the United Nations revealed a contract for Su-35 jets. Russia is reportedly transferring Su-35 aircraft to Iran in exchange for kamikaze drones. Amid a new round of tensions between Iran and the West, Iran's Revolutionary Guard is reportedly on track to receive its own dedicated long-range fighter jets, giving the force independent reach far beyond Iran's borders. Russian defense-linked sources say Iran has ordered 12 Sukhoi 30 SM-2 fighter jets, according to specialist reporting, signaling a significant expansion of Tehran's high-end aviation arsenal. The aircraft are expected to arrive second-hand from Russian Navy or Aerospace Forces units around 2027, implying that current Russian squadrons will give up jets to fulfill the Iranian order. Iran has already ordered dozens of Sukhoi 35s and is said to be eyeing Sukhoi 57s as well, creating questions about how it will manage such a diverse mix of Russian fighter types in maintenance and training. Analysts argue the Sukhoi 30 SM-2s are technically less capable than the Sukhoi 35s but may be tailored for the Revolutionary Guard's needs, focusing on ruggedness, multi-role flexibility, and ease of operation over cutting-edge performance. The Sukhoi 30 SM-2 is a twin-engine long-range fighter designed to perform both air superiority and precision strike roles, allowing it to switch between hunting enemy aircraft and hitting ground or sea targets. It carries a powerful radar suite and advanced multi-role combat systems, giving pilots the ability to track multiple targets and fight effectively in complex airspace. The jet can be armed with guided glide bombs, modern air-to-air missiles, and a range of air-to-ground munitions, making it a flexible platform for both offensive and defensive missions. It is compatible with electronic warfare pods, reconnaissance sensors, and targeting pods, letting the same airframe jam radars, collect intelligence, and direct precision strikes. The aircraft is designed for long-endurance sorties across vast operational distances, a key asset for a country like Iran that must cover large territory and distant front lines. In some configurations, the Sukhoi 30 SM-2 can serve as an airborne command and control node, coordinating other aircraft and drones during complex combat operations. The jet is built to operate from dispersed and relatively austere forward airfields when required, fitting the IRGC's doctrine of deploying assets across hardened or remote bases. It is considered rugged and combat-proven, and is generally seen as easier to maintain than Russia's newest stealth fighters, an important factor for sanctions-hit Iran. Operationally, it is viewed as less complex than the Sukhoi 35 or Sukhoi 57, which could make it more suitable for rapid introduction into IRGC service with limited pilot and technician pipelines. Reports suggest that the Sukhoi 30 SM-2s are earmarked not for Iran's regular air force but for the Revolutionary Guard itself, effectively giving Mujtaba's camp its own modern fighter wing. The IRGC already operates Sukhoi 22 strike jets and Sukhoi 25 ground attack aircraft in limited numbers. But these platforms are older, shorter-ranged, and far less sophisticated than the incoming Sukhois. Iran originally inherited many Sukhoi 22s from Iraq, after Iraqi pilots fled U.S. bombing during the 1991 Gulf War and landed their aircraft on Iranian territory. Tehran initially struggled to use and maintain these jets but later upgraded them with outside help from Syria and Libya, slowly bringing them back into operational service. By 2018, around 10 Sukhoi 22s had been fitted with new Iranian avionics and given the ability to fire modern guided weapons, turning them into semi-modern strike platforms. These upgraded Sukhoi 22s can now launch air-launched cruise missiles and share targeting data with drones in the field, giving the IRGC a crude but functional manned-unmanned teaming capability. Even so, the underlying Sukhoi 17 and Sukhoi 22 design dates back to the 1970s and is now seen as badly outdated for distant, high-threat operations against modern air defenses. Replacing these aging jets with Sukhoi 30 SM-2s would represent a major leap, shifting the IRGC from maintaining relics to operating modern multi-role fighters capable of shaping battles across the region. All of this is unfolding even as Russia's president insists Iran never asked for weapons and Moscow has not supplied any, creating a sharp contrast between public denials and reported plans on the ground.